This interview is really interesting for anybody who is in a long-term committed relationship because these issues are things that everybody deals with. And she also talks specifically about stress and culture in the Silicon Valley, the South Bay area of California, where the stress level is absolutely off the charts. If you know, you know. So without further ado, enjoy Mindful Mutiny. I am so excited today to have a guest. This is somebody that I've known all my life. This is somebody that has chosen a profession that is similar to mine, and that we've kind of grown together and exchanged a lot of information about how we do what we do, and bounce cases off of each other. Amanda Buckman, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Amanda is an associate marriage and family therapist, a mother of 4, and she's dedicated to strengthening lives and relationships through positive communication, conflict resolution, and self-care. Currently pursuing her doctorate degree in counseling, education, and supervision, Amanda employs the non-judgmental, strength-based approach to guide couples in finding solutions to relationship challenges. Specializing in neurodiverse couples, she emphasizes a tailored communication strategy, emotional acknowledgement, and fostering fondness within relationships. Drawing from her personal experience as the mother of a neurodivergent child, Amanda supports parents through positive parenting skills and understanding the purpose behind a child's behavior and encouraging positive reinforcement. Her approach is centered on celebrating small steps towards larger goals and creating a foundation for thriving relationships. That's a lot.
Yes. I was like, whoa, where'd this come from?
The thing that I am really excited about talking with you about is that you have a particular specialty that everybody here is going to be interested in. And so can you talk a little bit about what it is that you do?
Yes, I actually do a lot right now. So I'm currently working with neurodiverse couples, but I'm also working with blended families. And I'm also working with co-parenting, and I'm a mental health forensic counselor. So I'm working with conditional release individuals who are also have a medical or a mental diagnosis.
Okay. Now you've said a lot of words here. And when you're talking about a neurodiverse couple, can you talk about what that actually is?
Yes, good question. So a neurodiverse couple would be either one or both of the participants in the couple have either autism, they're on the spectrum in some manner, like Asperger's, or have ADHD or some kind of developmental delay. So they're not neurotypical, as I would say, the cookie cutter person. So the approach is there's more social differences in how they communicate, what their needs are, what we would expect from the person in the partnership.
As I grew up, you grow up with the people who are around you in your family, and the ideas and the ways of doing things are very normal to you. And it really actually has been long into my career that it finally dawned on me that some people around me might be neurodiverse, but you become so accustomed to the way that somebody thinks, the way that somebody operates, that I, as a clinician, can look at a client and go, yeah, I think that we've got a little bit of spectrum disorder going on here. But when it came to it dawning on me that people that have been close to me all my life might be neurodiverse, might be spectrum, it kind of blew my mind. I wasn't quite ever thinking that.
Right. And a lot of people, when they're in a social situation, like when we're young, they put on a mask, they pass socially, especially females. So we don't really feel the full brunt of their neurodiversity. Where it's felt is within a relationship where we bring our attachment issues. We wonder, why is the person I'm dating, why is the person I'm married to not understanding or not empathizing with my emotions. Why are they telling me how to feel? Most likely it's because they don't experience emotions the same way, or they don't understand that other people may feel an emotion differently from what they feel, such as people with what they used to say Asperger's. So they can't empathize. And so that is what I work with, is teaching the neurodiverse individual how to listen to their partner, and teaching the neurotypical partner, how do you communicate your needs in a way that they will understand?
All right. So there's a couple different ways that I want to go here, but you're talking about communication. You've got the person that might have some mild spectrum disorder, and you have the person who doesn't.
Yes.
And maybe this is a new revelation for the neurotypical person, but you're teaching skills on how to communicate. So if you've got one of these couples, how are you teaching these couples how to communicate across that line?
So communication is the biggest thing to work on. It's the foundation. And so you bring up, okay, using the system of, when I feel such and such emotion, or when I experience this, this is how I feel, what I need is. So it's just creating scripts, because a lot of neurodiverse individuals, they see things linearly. And so you have to teach the neurotypical how to communicate in a linear fashion. And also, if they need it slowed down, step by step. You know, the neurodiverse individual comes home from work, rather than kids jumping all over him and the wife saying, did you pick up the milk? Okay, how was work? You know, throwing all these questions out. You teach the neurotypical to slow down. Did you have a good day at work? Receive response. Did you grab the milk? I forgot. Can you go back and get it? So you teach a script to slow things down, so both can communicate what their needs are, and you know, have that communication, but it's being received and given by both. And unfortunately, it is a lot of work for the neurotypical, because they're having to learn a new language. And the neurodiverse individual is also learning a new language that they may not understand, but they need to understand the importance to the neurotypical.
So what I'm kind of hearing you saying here is that you're teaching a kind of communication for the person who has spectrum disorder, that it's clear and it's clean. It's one question, answer one question, instead of several questions that can be what?
Overwhelming and cause shutdown and withdraw, and encourage the neurodiverse individual to, they've already been masking all day at work. Now they're home and they want to decompress, and they just want to hide because they don't want to feel the overwhelming stimuli that they were already feeling all day at work.
Okay. All right. And so the boys tend to get a diagnosis early in school.
They do.
Because it's the same reason that boys who have ADHD get diagnosed really early in their lives, because they might be causing problems in class. Whereas the girls tend to learn how to mask, and they tend to be very quiet. And so in my own practice, I've experienced women who are very new to the concept that they might have something called spectrum. They don't know much about it. They're kind of freaking out a little bit. And it's a little bit different in women. Can you talk about some of the differences in the way that the different sexes experiences?
Absolutely. I actually want to start at the beginning. So when we were kids, it was believed that only boys had autism, because studies only were done on boys between the ages of 3 and 8. And so only little boys were diagnosed. They missed the girls, because girls who were diagnosed with any kind of mental health disorder, they were more profoundly symptomatic. So girls who were on the spectrum, who did have autism, were not identified because they were able to pick up social cues, to fit in socially, wear a mask. And it wasn't until maybe those were the girls that in high school would be the oddballs. Like, she's weird. What's wrong with her? She's so isolating. She, keeps to herself. She's highly focused on things that normally girls her age would not be focused on, like dragon stuffies, cute little rainbow thingies. So those were the oddballs, but it turns out those were probably the girls who had autism, but their behaviors were more socially acceptable, rather than little boys who are bouncing off the walls, who are not, not verbal, or engaging socially. So not as profound enough. Today, those women who were the oddballs are growing up, and they're finding themselves in the workplace, and they're like, well, I have no focus. I can't get my tasks done. I feel overwhelmed. And it turns out they have ADHD. So in childhood, they were able to pick up, this is socially acceptable. I'm going to do this. But then later in life, they realize they haven't got the skills to be organized in the way they need to be.
That's,
yeah.
I'm working with a few people right now, and one young professional that is experiencing a great deal of distress trying to get past a major milestone in their career. And ADHD is a major milestone for this person, and they're so frustrated because they see other people who are able to focus, retain information, take a big test, put it behind them, and move on.
Yeah.
And this person's not able to do that, and it's intensely frustrating. This person needs to work 10 times as hard as everybody else. And it's really frustrating for people who are trying to follow a linear career track.
Right. And these individuals, they have to realize that they have different needs. So it's kind of like an adult IEP. What are my needs? What is going on with me? I can't stay focused. Okay, maybe I need to carry a notepad. Maybe I need to realize I need to write down everything to remember it. Maybe I need longer deadlines. I need to talk to my supervisor. I need a longer deadline. I can't get things done immediately. So it's really, they have to find environments where they can have those needs met. So they need to understand, what are my needs? Like, where are my shortcomings? What do I need to meet those goals? Like, do I need to make lists? Do I need to have a calendar that's on the wall? Do I need to use those special tools? And can I find a workplace where I have a supervisor who's understanding and can help me meet those accomplishments, those goals in my own way?
How do tempers factor into all of this?
Tempers.
Yeah, I find that there's often frustration that is experienced between a couple when, it often turns to yelling, when there's misunderstanding with these things. And oftentimes the couples show up to me and they're fired up.
Right. So we have a situation where there's a pattern of, I like to say, the tortoise and the hailstorm. So you have typically the neurodiverse, let's say a gentleman with autism, very common in my practice. Gentleman has autism, and he is a withdrawer because he does not like, conflict. So he's conflict avoidant. He withdraws on himself when he is being hailstormed on by his wife, who is quote unquote nagging him. So she's nagging because she doesn't feel he's listening to her. She wants him to go to the store and get milk, but he keeps forgetting. She's frustrated. So she is raising her voice, and she's nagging because she wants very desperately to be heard. But he is withdrawn. He's stonewalling. He does not want the hailstorm anymore. He's not listening to her. And then there's a point when he can't take the hailstorm anymore, and the tortoise comes out and snaps at the hailstorm. And that's when you have the full-on, both people are now yelling at each other, the conflict, that we're like, whoa, how did we get here? But it starts out with the person not being heard, hailstorming on top of the tortoise eventually not having it anymore, snapping at the hailstorm to make it stop. And it is recommended that the person who would be the hailstorm to soften the hailstorm, to slow down, to allow the withdrawer to feel safe, to come out of their shell and go, wait, what did you want at the store? So it's really encouragement to create a safe space for the withdrawer.
What would you suggest as things to be aware of if somebody thinks that their partner might be on the spectrum?
Yes, that can be a hard question for a couple, especially if the person who they believe could be neurodiverse comes from a family background where neurodiversity is looked down upon. So it can be a very difficult situation. So what I recommend is to just look at the behaviors and the traits, and not necessarily do you need a diagnosis. Just look at what is going on, and maybe we need to look at strategies that would be for someone who's on the spectrum, but not necessarily are we going to say, well, we need to know. There doesn't have to be a diagnosis to use the strategies.
Yeah, that's great advice. That really is. I know this is something that has become more, there's more and more awareness that this exists out there, and more people are getting these diagnoses. And the great thing is there's more understanding of what it is, but there also is the question of where did this come from? Like, what is happening that there's all of this change in how people's minds work?
Can I give my hypothesis?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm not going to say I read this in any book, but I like to look at things from the point of view of how did humans survive if this were in a saber-toothed mammoth time period. How did this help people survive? Now, I believe that those with, let's specifically autism, people who are able to withdraw and be comfortable by themselves and to highly focus on a task were those who, in the times of early humans, they were there, but those were the ones who were highly skilled in, let's say, arrowhead making tools, doing a specific task that helped the rest of the group survive. Whereas everyone else was much more social. And so those were the ones that went out hunting. They did the gathering together, the much more social, like the child rearing. And so I believe that autism has actually been around for the entire human existence. It's just we've created a society that's much more social, and we have an expectation of how people should react, rather than considering, wow, this is how this person would have been early on, and they helped the survival of the group by their highly fixated and not needing to be totally socially, part of the group. Like they were on the outskirts doing something very special for the survival of the group. And that's my belief. If I were to look at, I like to take everything back, how would this help humans survive? And I really truly believe that is part of it. That these neurodiversity traits have been around forever. It's just our society is screwy.
Our society's pretty darn screwy. Well,
yeah.
You also have another set of specialties that you work with. And you work with people who have, and I'm just kind of going to let you talk about it here. Like, is it sexual dysfunction? Is it not understanding intimacy? Or like, what is the specialty that you have?
Ooh, okay. So what I don't do too much work with it anymore, because I've kind of been thrown into I'm in the neurodiversity, and then blended families and co-parenting. That's just blown up because there's so many blended families or individuals who want to blend their families. But when I was working with those in sex therapy, it was geared around people with either severe let's say ranges in wanting intimacy. So like in a couple, just an extreme range where this person wants it all the time and this person doesn't want it ever. Or individuals who have erectile dysfunction or premature ejaculation. And this area, I found it's mostly geared around anxiety around self, anxiety around being with a person, and even a childhood expectations, and the information that especially men received early on in their childhood about what a man is.
How common is erectile dysfunction?
So I live in Silicon Valley, and here it is very, very prevalent because anxiety levels are so high, especially when you go into industries of so CEOs, executives. It's rampant. It's rampant there because the high anxiety rate of you need to perform, you need to push yourself, you need to be successful, you need to get up the ranks. And so there's a lot of performance issues when it comes to just coming home and just,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I was the CEO of a company in the Silicon Valley, and um, there is no rest. There is no rest. You are that job 24 hours a day. It crushes you. And so, yeah, that stress,
Yeah.
it affects every single part of your life. And so when you're treating people with erectile dysfunction, or what are you recommending that they do?
A lot of it is working on their stress level. So it's stress, go to the doctor. Is there anything that you need? Unfortunately, a lot of anti-anxiety medication, antidepressants create erectile dysfunction. So that's something there needs to be awareness of. But a lot of it is okay, what changes in your lifestyle do you need to lower your stress level, to have less anxiety? And also another issue too is they're coming home after being gone all the time, coming home, and they don't have any connection with their spouse. So if they're in a relationship, there's very little connection there because they're not home that often. And so does wife want to have intimacy? No, because where's the connection? And so it's reconnecting with their spouse as well, but in a manner that is not jumping right into intercourse. It's, can we just cuddle? Can we just rebuild that feeling of being togetherness? And that in itself is a stress relief. So it's like it's a change of lifestyle. What is important to you? Is being a CEO and being stressed out important, or is it rechanging that? What does your schedule look like? Allowing people to have permission to have boundaries when it comes to work, which is really hard because there's an unwritten expectation that because you're on salary, you're going to work your ass off. And so it's creating those healthy boundaries, even if you're a salaried worker.
Yeah. What is it that a partner can do for somebody who's struggling with this?
A partner can be there to hear their spouse when they come home, instead of having, well, you haven't been here all day, you're never with me. Instead of telling their partner what their partner's not doing for them, be there for your partner to show, I'm glad you're here. Have appreciation that they are here when they are. Make it safe for them to want to be home. I think that's the biggest deal. It's you could be at work or you could be home. Make home a place you want to go to. Yeah.
What are the kinds of sexual dysfunctions that women tend to have?
The big one I've seen is vaginismus. That's the common one. And low sex drive. Now, low sex drive could be either they just have a lower want. A low sex drive isn't necessarily a bad thing. It could be, I don't think about it. I don't want it. I don't really, it's not something I think about during my day. It could be, I'm so stressed out that the idea sounds like another item on my list of things to do. And so how do we change that? And so those are the areas that I've seen and I've worked with.
Can you explain what vaginismus is?
So vaginismus is when a woman cannot allow intercourse, or it's incredibly painful. So the pelvic floor is very painful. And the recommendation is that they see their doctor to see if there's anything medical going on. And then if that can be ruled out, then we work on anxiety. So just working on their stress level, anxiety towards intercourse, sexual behavior, and looking at their, kind of going back to their childhood. What information were you taught? What did your role models tell you about intimacy? is it a belief system that kept you from, wanting to, until now you're married and you're supposed to have children, but you've been told your whole life you're not supposed to, have intimacy with anyone. So it's a mind-body connection that we work with.
Are you noticing differences in the way that people, in people's desire to do things that is based upon popular images or pornography? The effect that this may have, and I'm not talking necessarily negative, I'm just talking the effect that it would have, positive or negative, on the way that people see themselves sexually.
Well, women think that they will never live up to a standard. And one of the things that I've heard is women do not want their males to see their genitals or want to have their genitals altered to look a certain way because of what they've seen in porn, even though their genitals are perfectly normal and fine, because the ones viewed in porn are accepted by men a certain way. I should look like that to be sexy. And men also, especially if they've started watching pornography early on, they have unreasonable expectations of what their partner's going to do or what she's going to look like. And so porn does it creates these unreasonable expectations for both partners. And then they can't get aroused. And then they're wondering, why are we not having fun? Because it's not a natural thing anymore. It's scripted.
Yeah. What do you kind of like prescribe for couples that are having a hard time with maybe they've been together for a really long time and they're looking for something fun to do? Is there safe and dignified things that couples can do that people generally feel okay doing?
Yes. I have them start out with outer touch, and just outer touch, holding hands, rubbing the arm, giving maybe shoulder rub, but you just stay there for a bit. You get comfortable, and then you can move to other areas, such as maybe touching the face, maybe a little more around this area of the body, and you work your way to the core of the body. But it's done in small increments, and when both parties are comfortable with it and want to do it, and you just kind of like have fun. You rediscover each other. And I've had couples who are doing premarital counseling do this. I've had couples who have been together for 27 years and have children do this, because somewhere in there all of a sudden was a loss of trust or an anxiety of some kind because someone said something once. And so we rebuild trust, but you start at the outer and you move your way in, and you don't do anything until both parties are like, oh yeah, okay, this would be fun. And as long as you're giggling and you're having fun, then let's keep doing it. But if there's no fun, then let's stop. Or let's go back a little. But there should always be an element of fun and a little bit of just excitement there too.
Yeah. You brought up something that you're kind of talking in some way about an affair and the recovery from a breach of trust and whatnot. And when you're working with a couple that has had even an emotional affair, a texting relationship, whatever it is, what are the most effective ways that you use to help a couple reestablish connection with one another?
So the first thing I tell the couple is, the old relationship is dead, and we are now creating a new relationship. And I always have a bit of discernment counseling in there. Discernment is the decision to either, it's a three-pronged approach. We stay in counseling, we decide to discontinue counseling and move on, or we continue working on the recovery. And so there's discernment in this affair recovery process, because not all couples that come to counseling to repair after an affair remain together, because sometimes there's some hurts that just cannot be rebuilt. So the first thing is, the old relationship is dead. we're going to create a new relationship. And to create a new relationship, we have to understand, and what went wrong. Why did things go the way they did? This is not to place blame on anyone or another, but typically it comes down to a lack of communication. What did we not communicate about? What need did I not tell you that I had? Or was there something that you wanted that I just couldn't give? So it goes down to, what did we not communicate about, and how can we move on with actually having that communication? So we're getting to know each other again. And so that's where I started. And the couple can tell me what they're comfortable with. Do they want full disclosure, or they're ready to just move on and just rebuild their communication? Because what it comes down to, it's communication.
Do you find that full disclosure helps?
It depends on the person. It does. For some people, it does. For others, it's too much, and it's more than they wanted to know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sometimes people think they want to know, and it wasn't really worth it.
Yes. So some people, they're like, yes, I want full disclosure, but we don't get to full disclosure until we worked on communication in my practice. So we work on communication first. We work on, how do we communicate in a manner that is respectful and where we feel safe. And then if we can get to that, then we can, okay, do you want disclosure? How much disclosure? How many questions do you want to ask? And we do it in practice. So we do it in front of the counselor. We do not do it at home. We don't do it in front of the children. We do it in a very encapsulated, safe environment. Yeah.
This is really amazing work, and it's really hard work because every couple is a little bit different.
Yeah.
You got into this work because you had an interest in this sort of thing. Where did you grow up? What's your story? Where'd you come from?
Well, I grew up in Santa Clara, California, and my parents and 3 other siblings. I'm the eldest of 4, and pretty basic. But I knew I wanted to help people because of my childhood. So my mother has epilepsy, and throughout my childhood, it was like every day there was a seizure, unfortunately. And I was, as the eldest, had to take care of my siblings. And there was a situation once, I think I was about no older than 8 years old, where my mom had a seizure in a parking lot. And I was with my little sister, and it was a crowded parking lot, and we're yelling help because our mother's on the ground, and no one came to help. So I asked my sister to stay with mom, and I went inside the store and asked to use their phone to call 911. And they said, you can use the payphone outside. So I went outside and I used the payphone to call 911. My sister's still in the parking lot. My sister's 3 years younger than me. So she's 6 years old, screaming help. No one's helping. And it was this situation that really made me not want anyone else to have this happen to them. I always told myself, I want to be there to help others who can't help themselves. I will never allow anyone to be in pain and for me to just walk by. So it's really been my life's mission to be there for others, to have a life of service, as they say.
I'm sorry, that story is beyond belief.
Yeah.
That story is, I mean, I can't even imagine. Young person walks into a store and says, I need to dial 911. My mom is having a seizure, for them to say, go outside and use a payphone.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I remember that situation like it was yesterday. And I drive by the store every once in a while, and I'm right back there. It really was the turning point in my life, where I went from a little kid that was kind of selfish to a person who's like, I'm going to take care of the world.
Yeah. It was a different world. You're talking about the mid 1980s there.
Mm-hmm.
It's a totally different kind of world than we live in now.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, you grew up in Santa Clara, and, where did you go from there? What's your story?
Oh boy. So grew up in Santa Clara, ended up going to San Jose State. San Jose State, I decided I wanted to really get into helping people. Although I was a music major, I had a point in time where my my music equipment was stolen out of my locker, which made me so upset because here again, something's been done to me. And I've asked for help. I did a police report, and it turned out that the police didn't look for my instrument. They looked for the school instruments that were stolen. And so again, I felt no one's here to help me. I'm yelling for help and no one's here to help me. And so from there, I started looking at professions where I could help, where I had some way of having my hands in making other people's lives better. And so that took me into the road to counseling. And so, I mean, it took me a while to get here, but I think it came at the right time. My kids are a little older, and so I can go to school. And I've been practicing since 2019. So, yeah, this has been an amazing career. I really wish I had started earlier. However, if I had started earlier, I don't think I'd appreciate it the way I do today. And the life experience I've had, I believe, really helps infer how I work with people and just how I can hold safety for them.
Yeah, you're helping others comes from, it sounds like, a number of really significant memories of
Mm.
being violated,
Yes.
and having your rights violated and everything like that.
Mhm.
And here you come to this, and you also, did I hear that you work with people who are on a conditional release from jail or prison?
Yep, conditional release from the California state hospitals. So these are
Oh,
individuals who have been charged with a crime. However, they've been found mentally ill. So they're in the state hospitals, and they would probably be there for life, but we give them an opportunity to have a conditional release in the community, as long as they meet and maintain requirements. So there's a lot of high level requirements that they have to maintain in order to stay in the community. And one of the big ones is medication compliance, and being transparent with their are they having symptoms? And they're allowed to have symptoms, but are they allowing the symptoms to go unreported? And so there's a lot of oversight in these individuals.
this sounds relatively intensive.
Mhm.
And these people, I'm assuming they've been convicted of a crime but found to have various different psychological symptoms that created the foundation for why that crime occurred, and now they're trying again to be in society. You find them to be very motivated?
They have to have motivation to be in our program, and their motivation is to stay, to be regulated and to be a part of the community. A lot of them have jobs, and they're very proud of their jobs. And so they have to meet certain stages or levels within our program, and with each level, they're given more responsibilities. And as they move up in the levels, there is this sense of pride and motivation to do, to meet the goals and to follow our rules. Yeah, so it's a wonderful program. The program is actually started in an effort to clear up beds, as you say, in the hospitals. So there were a lot of mentally ill people who are still in the jails and being sent to prison. They were not receiving appropriate care, and they were dying. And so by moving these people who are pretty stable and nonviolent, moving them out of the state hospitals and putting them in our conditional release program, you're opening the opportunity for people who really need to be in the state hospital to be able to get in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you work in a world of family therapy, and you help people, and there's more and more households are not made up of children and couples that started together. There's a lot of blended family sort of work that's going on. So what's your experience in this? How do you work with people, and what are the normal issues?
Right. Well, the blended family, it's very common. It's also one of the most difficult relationships of a family. It's very difficult. So look at the divorce rate of a regular, nuclear family that's come together. The divorce rate of a blended family is even bigger than that. So for various reasons. First, I want to start out with every blended family is created out of loss or grief, because a loss of the previous relationship, the loss of, a dream or an expectation, grieving the loss of a spouse, the loss of a relationship, or all those dreams. So we have to look at that first. We have to look at the fact that a blended family is already coming from loss. You also have a hierarchy of need. You have the need of, okay, these two people are coming in, but they're also got one or both of the couple is bringing in a child. So that's what creates the blended family, really. It's the child. So where do we put, if you look at the hierarchy of who gets what, in blended family counseling, you have to have a blueprint. You can't just, let's move in together, let's get married, without a blueprint, because then everyone's going to be miserable. No one's going to have their needs met. The child's going to be grieving the fact that, oh my God, I have a new mommy. What do I do? So you have to have a blueprint. The blueprint I recommend is you have I wish I had a whiteboard, but you have the two parents here. You have mom and the incoming father. And then you have the children. Now, the hierarchy has to be the two spouses. They need to be a united front. It doesn't matter how old the children are. The children, let's say there's another co-parent. The children have time with the other co-parent. They're not always in the household. So you have to think, who is always going to be in the house? Well, the other adult. So the communication there needs to be open. It needs to take paramount over the children. And it sounds harsh and everyone fights me on it. But really, the children are temporary. They are not going to be there forever. They're either there every other week, every other weekend, maybe even 100% of the time. But once those children turn 18, they can leave. Who's going to be there? Your spouse. So the priority needs to be on that relationship. If that relationship is stabilized, everything else falls into place. And so that's what I help my blended families realize, is having a blueprint. What does communication look like? Because communication is key in every relationship. And who's the disciplinarian? How do we discipline? Say you have two sets of children from two different other co-parents coming in, and they have their own arrangements on discipline. Communication has to be very clear on if there is discipline that needs to be done, who does it, for what child, and how is it done in this household. So it gets complicated. And that's why this is such a very specific focus, because you cannot look at it through the lens of a typical, relationship where both the parents had the child. You can't. It is a totally different lens, because you're looking at the two parents coming in, kids coming in, co-parents, extended families. It's nutty.
So children who are raised in this environment,
Mm-hmm.
are there different issues that you see that they have than children that are in what would be considered a nuclear family?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The younger the child, the better the success of the child and the family integrating. The older the child, such as the teenage age group, very difficult. That's when there's a lot more stressors, a lot more communication needs to be done, a lot more openness to allowing the child to voice how they're feeling, but then also setting boundaries and ground rules of their behavior. So there's just a lot more work when it comes to the older children.
Are you noticing differences in client needs and behavior in the post-COVID era? A lot has changed for everybody. And I know that at a certain period of time, there was this perspective that look at how badly it's affecting the children. And I mean, I'm looking at this as a clinician, I'm going, it's affecting the adults every bit as much as it's affecting the kids. What are you seeing?
So post-COVID in general, a lot more isolating behavior. I'm not going to go out as much. Families don't do things outside the house together as much as they did before. It's a lot more, yeah, we kind of do our own thing in our rooms. A lot more video gaming. But then also a lot of children, their interests are a lot more isolated. I'm going to do my thing in my room. And I know we saw this before COVID with teenagers, but now it's younger and younger children doing this, isolating themselves in their room, doing their own thing. The parents are trying to get them outside. The children just don't want to. And it's not that they don't want to. There is a tinge of anxiety there too, like because the parents put that anxiety on their children. It's not safe to go outside. It's not safe to be with people or play with. So the recommendation is to keep on encouraging it. Just keep on getting the children outside, and for parents to get outside as well with their children, and just keep on trying, and make it a regular thing. If we can't give up, and just go, well, I tried. No, we have to keep on trying. It took what COVID was a year in isolation. Might take a year to get out of the isolation.
You're doing a lot of work that's very personal with people. What's it like for you?
To work with people?
All of this heaviness.
That's an interesting question, because when I work with incoming counselors who just got out of grad school and they're going into their internship for the first time, I tell them, you will experience burnout. You will. You're going to be burned out on other people's emotions and experiences. You're going to be exhausted hearing other people's stories. You're going to go home and not know what to do with it. And that's okay. I think it takes a couple of years for a counselor to learn how to hold space for another person, hour by hour to hour, day by day by day, and to not absorb it and to not have it be draining. And it's all about self-care. It's all about, what am I doing to release that energy? What am I doing to counteract that countertransference?
Okay, explain what that is.
Countertransference is, and I'm going to use the example of a counselor. Countertransference is when a counselor is with a client who is telling them a story, and you as a counselor are like, oh my God, I know what that's like. I've lived it. And you're kind of like going into your own selfish mind. You're not present with the patient, or I apologize, the client. You're kind of in your own experience. And so that's countertransference. And the recommendation is to acknowledge I'm having countertransference, to accept it, to know it's happening, and then to go back to the client. Because it's a natural part of being a counselor. This is actually part of my PhD dissertation. During COVID, all counselors were experiencing countertransference because we were in the shared stress of COVID, of quarantine, of lockdown. So we're working through telehealth. We're supporting our clients in their anxiety and depression, but we ourselves are also experiencing it at the same time in our own home, at the same time. And how can you not have countertransference? How can you not have that shared stress phenomenon occurring? So what do you do with it? Self-care, have activities that give you joy, be social, do things that make you feel happy. You release that energy back out into the world.
What do you think needs to change in the mental health care system?
My idea of what needs to, most mental health practice is you're only paid when you have the client in front of you. And so what that does, and I've seen it with a couple of my cohorts, is you work hours enough to support yourself, but you're only paid on the time you're face to face with the client, and you end up working more than you can actually emotionally handle. And I know there's usually a minimum of 15 a week, of 15 billable clients a week, but maybe some people need less than that. But then how do you make a living? Because you're spending your time not only seeing the patient, but you're also writing notes and doing all those things, and advocacy and reaching out and collaborating and doing groups, and you're not paid for any of that time. And so what a lot of counselors do is they overwork themselves seeing clients, but they're not paid for that time that they're doing all the other work. And I think it just leads to burnout. You're constantly chasing an income, and that's what I've experienced, and a lot of what my cohorts are experiencing. Also, internships are not paid. You're lucky if you have a paid internship. So you're working to support your internship to pay for school. You have no time for self-care. And so they push self-care in school, but there's no opportunities for it because you're working so hard to make the income that you need. That's how I feel. I think that needs to change.
Yeah, that would provide counselors that have more time to be more meticulous, more detail oriented on a case, do more research and everything. And doing the research on a case makes all the difference when you come to the table with a new exercise, a new idea, a new thing to do. But that takes time. That takes time and effort, and not having the time for the prep that is paid, it disincentivizes doing that kind of really beneficial work.
Right. And also, what do counselors do to make up that time and income? They raise their rates. And now you're missing a population. Now a population doesn't have access to this amazing counselor who's willing to go and do this research. Yeah.
So Silicon Valley, you're there, you're in the midst of this very strange culture that arguably believes the entire world revolves around.
Yes, it does. Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. People who go, I'm from the Silicon Valley, and we set the standard that the other, and I just,
I'd like to know how long they actually lived in Silicon Valley, because I mean, you and I, we were born and raised here in Silicon Valley. I don't call it Silicon Valley. I call it San Jose. I call it the Bay Area. And I think when we were living here, there were cherry orchards everywhere. It was an agricultural area. And so when people say, well, I'm from Silicon Valley, I'm like, you obviously weren't born there. This is an agricultural area.
Yeah, well, gosh, it was. And now all the orchards are parking lots and Apple Park and all of that. And these companies, they build the employee experience around living there, living at the building. They do your food, they do your dry cleaning, they do all of these things to incentivize you to spend the maximum amount of time possible. What are the main issues that you see in clients that are basic Silicon Valley people?
A lack of boundaries and prioritization of what's important in life. So they lack connection with their families, lack connection with their spouses. There's fear. There's a lot of fear. And the fear is based on, if I don't perform, or if I don't give all my whole life and soul to this company, I'm going to lose my job. And it's there's so much pain here. Just the drive that one needs to maintain. You can give all the free salad bars you want to a person, but if they're not able to have their own life outside of work, they're not happy. They're not a person. And these families, they're falling apart. They're absolutely falling apart. Yeah, I have nothing good to say about it.
There was a food reviewer, and I'm really sorry to say that I don't know this person's name. My wife was just telling me about, who goes all around the world and reviews the local cuisine. It goes to the high-end Michelin-rated restaurants and sits down and talks about the experience. So this person came to the South Bay Area to review the high-end food, and this person,
where'd they go?
I don't know where they were. This is relayed to me by my wife. It said, "Look, the food's not that good. The food's not that good at any of these restaurants that are supposed to be fantastic. And I don't feel safe. I don't feel safe anywhere. Anywhere I park my car, anywhere I go out at night, I don't feel safe in any of these areas." And he left early. He left early, and he did South Bay and North Bay and West Bay and these different areas around there. And he just abandoned his mission to review food in the Bay Area. And so you have this really weird culture where you've got, everybody has purchased their Porsche 911 to drive 3 miles to work, and their Teslas and stuff like that. And then this impoverished population of literal other cities that exist underneath population, traffic overpasses, that have their own mayors, that have their tent cities. They have their own mayors, their own enforcement, security forces, and everything like that. This, you can be right across the street from a high-end, big Silicon Valley company, and then there's a camp.
That's very true. And I can't deny that where I live I'm lucky to live in a really nice neighborhood, but because we're so close to a camp, very well established one too, and you don't know who is in there. We cannot leave anything unlocked. We cannot we have to take precautions, and it's very sad. And our trash is constantly being searched, even though it's behind our gate. And I work in downtown San Jose. So downtown San Jose is another beast, where walking, you have to take precautions. I can't say that I don't take a walk and fear that I'm going to get run over by a car. I mean, because every time I take a walk in downtown San Jose, I'm either yelled at because I wouldn't give money, or I'm almost hit by a car because I'm not walking across the crosswalk fast enough. So I can see why he abandoned his mission.
Well, so this high stress lifestyle, this entire region that is there's a real culture to it, and I'm from there, and so I recognize it when I'm there, that you have there's such a status to wearing your lanyard for your company that you work for when you're out for drinks at night. If you have a lanyard that has a big name on it, that's a thing. You wear the jacket that has your company name on it. I've seen a lot of that sort of thing there. So there's a real status about it.
Status, yeah. And these are people who, I mean, I guarantee all those people, they're not from here. They're transplants from somewhere else. They've come in for work, and they're here, and there's a lack of care of the environment, a lack of care of those who are in it, and they're going to leave. No one intends to stay here. It's so lacking in community. It absolutely is for that reason. I have community in my company, but if you're not my company, you're not worth my time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get out of my way.
Well, yeah. And this mentality, do you see it creating such stress in people's lives that they're wondering what else they could actually do with their lives and maybe working on making some different plans of how they want to spend the years of their lives?
I don't know. The common theme that I hear is no one cares. No one cares what I do. No one cares what I've done. So a lack of motivation. Like, who cares? And it's very sad. It's very sad. I don't see motivation to do more.
How very sad. That's a lot of work to do to feel so alone.
Yeah. I'm just gonna, no one cares. I'm just gonna do my thing. And
Amazing. Amazing.
I'm just gonna keep up. I think that's a big thing. I'm just gonna keep up. I don't want to draw attention to myself. I'm gonna fly under the radar. I really don't see much drive in the movement upward momentum. I don't see it.
Have you seen, with the friends that you have that have stayed around in the Bay Area, have you seen this kind of thing affect them?
Honestly, all my friends have left. I just had 2 friends leave and go to New York. So
most everybody that I grew up with there is gone. And those who are there either adapted very easily to the tech thing, or they have inherited a property or a business or something like that allowed them to stay, because the starting of a business there, it is an incredibly competitive thing.
So I am your friend who has stayed. And I have to say, the only reason I'm still here, because my sister has moved out, my brother has moved out, and I have one brother who's still here, but he doesn't know any better. The only reason I have stayed is because I'm afraid that if I leave, I will never be able to return if I wanted to.
Okay, next question. Why would you ever want to return?
My parents. They are still here. Also, I love the Bay Area. Like, I don't know. I guess it's because I don't know any better. I've never lived anywhere else. So
well, aside from the culture that we've been talking about, the Bay Area is in some parts exceedingly beautiful. Yes. And it's a short drive to the ocean. There are hiking trails up in the mountains that have always been beautiful. And so there is a lot to do. It's just that there is a rat race that is relentless. And then when you have a large set of layoffs like the big companies are doing right now, I would imagine that there would be a great deal more just overall anxiety and depression going on.
Yeah. And a lot of people, they don't realize that there's a lot of beauty here to be enjoyed. And a lot of people do, but I think a lot of people forget that it's there, that they can go outside and have a walk and enjoy it. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being on Mindful Mutiny. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk about how you care for people. So how do people find you? How do they get in touch with you?
Oh, goodness. It's a good question. I'm on Psychology Today. But you can also email me at abuckman.therapy@gmail.com. That's probably the easiest way to find me.
Terrific.
Yes.
All right. I'll put that in the description. So again, a big thank you to Amanda Buckman for coming and talking about the caring and healing of people and all that goes into that. For everybody else who's listening, please like and subscribe to the Mindful Mutiny podcast. It really helps in growing something like this. And whatever you do, go be something great.